Reef DVM's coming at you with the update on the Stihl with our Power Sweeper on it. So right now it's getting to be springtime, and I just pulled it back out. I didn't have to use it for any snow sweeping of sidewalks this winter, so it basically stayed in the shop with the tiller head on it. So I'm very easily just pulling two pins and taking off the tiller head, and I'm going to put the Power Sweeper on it. What I'm going to do a little different in this video is I'm going to show you the way I do it, and then with the Power Sweeper, and then I'm going to show you the way they kind of intend you to do it. So the way it's set up right now, it's set up with the small shield and the rotation set for the garden tiller. And as you can see here, I'm going to put it together so that the rotation stays the same. And of course I will add the wider shield just to be safe for my face. But I'm going to let it run the way a garden tiller will, and not the way it's intended for the sweeper. And that's why I'm kind of making this video. I've been out doing the rock on my driveway and cleaning it up and stuff here with my daughters. And a couple guys have stopped in and said, "Why are you running it backwards?" And I got to be honest, I've walked up to them and said, "Look, I've had this machine now for years, and I've really gotten used to it. It's pretty easy to change things out and do things." But I said it's much easier to actually sweep in reverse, even though it, throws some rocks at your shoes. And he's like, "Really?" I said, "Yeah." I said, in the winter, I don't mind, sweeping snow forward. Snow is a little easier to move and so forth. But when you get onto the grass, especially with the thatch and the tall green grass sometimes that you run into in the summer, the machine really is a lot harder to push than it is to pull. So I run it a little bit differently. So once I get these shields on, I intend to show you both methods. The other thing I also wanted to kind of do with this video is give you an update. A lot of you have seen my two previous videos. One is on it with the Power Sweep, and the other is with the tiller. And a lot of people have been asking, how's it holding up? And, I put only canned Stihl gas in this thing. It's a 51 mix. You buy it in a can, you dump it in so it has no ethanol in it. I think that's one of the reasons it's doing so well, but the machine has held up great. Probably in the summer, I use it about maybe once a month. In a tough winter, I'll probably use it 2-3 times on the sidewalks. In an easy winter like we just went through, I don't use it at all. And then in the garden, I till with it about at least once a week for about 4 or 5 weeks. So it does get a fair amount of use, this little beast, and it's held up great. The wheels have held up, the engine's doing well. Everything's doing really good on it. So I have nothing but praises for this little Stihl. I own some other Stihl equipment, and I've actually been happy with that too. So far, they've proven themselves worthy in my mind. It's a little dusty here. I'm just going to kind of clean it up. I'm going to get this thing fired up. This thing hasn't been ran since last fall. Here it is March. It's April 1st, excuse me. So it hasn't been ran since probably October, November. So it might be a little temperamental to get started. Nope, there we go. Couple pulls and we're up and running. Again, this has been a good machine. Now it's a little hard on the camera, but if you watch the which way it throws the material, right now it's rotating towards my feet. Okay, and I'm just going to show you that as I go onto the lawn, I pull it back, and I can kind of steer where I want it to go back, and then I just let it walk itself forward, and I grab another batch and I back up. Again, it is throwing the rocks towards me, and if you read the manual and if you see people doing this, they're going to tell you should turn the rotation and do it the other way. But it's pretty effortless for me to just be able to do this. Matter of fact, my 12-year-old can do it this way, just by pulling it back. But for the sake of the video, I will turn it around here so that you can see it. So you take off the parts that I just put on. It's real simple to do. There's two screws. And I'm going to take off one of these sides just so that I can get to it. I forget where I put my wrench. Oh, yeah, there it is. I have my wrench up on the handle. I forgot where I had attached it. But you loosen these two screws. You take off one of your sides, and the thing literally rotates around 180 degrees, and then you put it back together. Now, again, everybody can do it the way the directions. I understand the safety aspect. I get it. But to me, this is the harder way of operating the machine. And after operating this machine for quite a few years now, this is just not the way I like to do it. But I'll lock it in and we'll do it for the video just so you can see. In my neck of the woods here, it's about 35 degrees with about a 10-mile-an-hour wind, so it's a little chilly. If you're wondering why I'm still wearing gloves this time of year, even though it looks like it's not too cold, here in Minnesota it really hasn't warmed up much yet. As you can see, you can take this thing apart pretty fast and put it together pretty easily. It's just a couple pins. It's not the hardest. We'll fire this thing up, and now it's going to throw things forward. Put my wrench back here. So now when you go to do it forward, it wants to push backwards at you, which I find on any type of unlevel surface this to be very difficult. Now, when I'm doing snow on concrete, it's not too hard. Actually, I'm going to tip up the wheels here a little bit. It'll make it easier for me if I get the wheels out of the way so I can lower the angle of approach and let the wheels just more float. It'll make it easier for me to operate it this way. And again, these wheels are removable. You can take them off if you want. But as you can see, I'm struggling a little bit against the grass because the grass isn't perfectly level to do the sweeping when in the forward position. Now, granted, nothing is flying towards me. Everything's flying away from me, and it's very, very safe. I get that. But I can't be near as fast as I would like. And on top of it, I'm working a lot more to push the machine. My 12-year-old can't even do it this way. It's actually very difficult for her. The machine will push her back enough that she has a hard time going forward. As you can see there, I'm going to get a little bit of dirt as I go over some of these vole mounds. They ravage this corner up a little bit on my farm. But I need to get the rocks back on the gravel driveway. The blower tends to blow them in. And again, I'm doing it with the method of pushing it forward. And again, you certainly can do this. And if your ground is really level, it's not bad. And certainly when you're doing snow on concrete, it's easy to do in this direction. Well, when you're working a little bit with unlevel ground and trying to move rocks and clean things up, I don't find this the easiest. So I'm going to switch this back here, folks, and then I'm going to get going again the way I do it. And you'll see I'll even be able to run the edge of the driveway next. So quick pop this off and turn it back around. Again, it's only 2 screws. Take the one thing off. You got to kind of pull forward here. Then push it back in there. And it's rotated. Tighten it back up. And you're up and running. It's pretty simple. I probably can change this thing out in just a few minutes. They didn't really give you a good storage spot for the wrench, so I just have it up on the handlebars with a couple zip ties, and it stays in there quite nice. I've had it up there for years and never lost it, so that's a good thing. There's 2 little pins there that go in the center. If you want to see it assembled a little bit more slower, look at one of my previous videos on this too, and you'll see it. So I'll fire this thing back up, and then I'm going to go the direction I like going with it, backwards, which is the same direction that works really good for tilling, by the way. Now I'm just doing the edges here. There isn't a lot of rock further in, so edging is pretty easy. As I get down to the bottom here, you're going to see there's piles from where I dump my snow. Again, I just go backwards with it. It's pretty easy for me to do. I just put the thing down below it and work it like a broom, pulling towards me. I get that it's going to blow stuff at my feet, but again, I got the boots on, I got the jeans on. Doesn't hurt, just goes right through it. As far as, just flinging off and moving it right back up the hill. There's some dirt mounds here. I just got to go over them a few times to break that stuff down. The ground is somewhat thawed on top, but not very deep. I would say the frost is still down there around that 1.5 foot mark, and probably goes down about 3-4 feet right now. But the top is good enough for me to do this now. I don't like waiting for the grass to grow. It just makes the machine work harder to get the rock out, and I can't see the rock as well. There's a little bit of thatch that'll get taken out of the lawn by doing this and thrown onto the driveway. It's not a big deal, because once I get done with this, I just run the drag over the driveway. The driveway comes right back to life, and being that I pulled the rock in about 1.5 foot, it gets used back in on the top layer of the driveway quite nicely with it. Pretty much can do all my driveway, which I probably got about 1/4 mile of it in probably about 2 hours, maybe 3. So now I'm just going to trim this edge out again. And I'll come back and smooth those piles out later, folks. But trimming this edge is pretty easy. I'm just pulling that rock into the middle more. And again, I like going backwards. It's easier for me. So here's my daughter. She's 12 years old. And she's running it backwards. And she's in a really sandy spot right now, but that's fine. Just kind of wanted to show she can do it. I'll have her take back over the camera here in a minute, but I'm going to let her do it a bit here, just to kind of prove my point. Going backwards she can do. I wanted just to, kind of get on it and show you that, to me, backwards is easier. And I guess that's why I do it backwards, even though some of my neighbors have stopped by and said, hey, you're going the wrong way with that. You're right, I am going the wrong way. But, put on a pair of safety glasses if it makes you nervous, put on a pair of boots like she did, and, pull the thing backwards. So I'm going to finish up here, folks. Again, this is my review on the Stihl with the Power Sweeper. I've had this unit now for years. It's been a fantastic unit, no repairs on anything. I run the canned Stihl gas through it. I think it's 50 to 1. Comes all pre-made, no ethanol, works great. The machine's holding up well. Haven't had to replace any of the sweepers or anything. Nothing's torn. And this is the kind of work I do with it all the time. Tilling in the garden, sweeping a rock spring and fall, and a couple times in the middle if there's a nasty rain or something. And then, lightly sweeping snow off the sidewalks if we have a tough winter. It's been a great little machine, and I certainly plan to keep on using it. I actually have been quite impressed with the Stihl equipment that I've got. I've got a couple chainsaws too. I've got a weed whip. I've had a bunch of other brands. I'm not trying to pick on Homelight and Paulin, and I've had a couple Echoes, just not really held up like this thing has. So I'm really impressed with it. Maybe it's just been a good brand for me and not for others, but I'm gonna keep using it. I'm gonna keep these guys on my shelf because so far it's really worked out well. Now again, I'm going to just trim the edge, and when I trim the edge going up, so I've got that stuff out of the bottom down there where I dumped it, I can actually go a lot faster, again, especially in reverse. It doesn't take long for me to let it walk itself forward when I need to go down the hill and then just pull it back up. And even though you think that's tough to do, it's actually a lot easier than pushing this darn thing. Folks, I certainly always appreciate you watching, liking, and subscribing too. The only way this channel, Reef DVM, stays open is with your guys' support. We certainly do appreciate it, and thank you for it, and we'd like you to continue to support us. So please like and subscribe, and we'll keep putting out great videos like we did on the Stihl Power Sweeper.